Hello everybody and welcome to Kay's Cakes, the show where I veganize your favorite recipes. I am so excited today. We're going back to the MCU Bake-a-thon, but we're not quite getting to phase 2 yet. We're actually going to skip ahead a little bit to phase 4 so you guys can enjoy some awesome snacks when you go to see the movies when they release. Now, we missed the window on Black Widow a little bit, but that's okay because if you haven't seen it yet, you can always go back and check out the Iron Man 2 video. It's Black Widow's Black Forest Cupcakes. You can check that out. But today we're going to go ahead, move forward with Shang Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. We're going to make Shang Chi's 10 ring matcha donuts. I was thinking, I don't know a lot about some of the movies that are coming out. I don't know a lot about Shang-Chi. I don't know a lot about the Eternals. So I was thinking 10 rings, like donut, kind of maybe like a little Asian flavor like matcha. So that's what we're going with. So for this recipe, here is what you will need. You will need aquafaba. You will need some kind of non-dairy milk, whatever your preference is. You will need some melted coconut oil, sugar, maple syrup, vanilla extract, applesauce, baking powder, baking soda, matcha powder, flour, and powdered sugar. So we got all our ingredients here. So the first thing that you should do is preheat your oven. If you're using Fahrenheit, that's going to be 375. If you're using Celsius, that's going to be 190 degrees. And if you have a special donut pan or two, this would be the time to prepare them with a little cooking spray or oil or whatever. You can also do these in mini muffin pans, but then they're mini muffins, they're not donuts. I should also say that traditionally donuts are deep fried, but I really like to keep my baking on this channel a little more accessible. Deep frying presents all sorts of challenges, and I just don't want to deal with it, to be quite honest. Okay, we're going to take our applesauce. We need 1/3 of a cup. And these are 4 ounces, so that is 4 ounces is half a cup, so a little bit less than a whole container. And that is essentially going to be the egg substitute. It'll keep all the dry ingredients together. Warmed non-dairy milk. So essentially, if you were to relate this to non-vegan baking, a lot of the times the first step is to cream the butter and the sugar together and then add your wet ingredients. So that's basically what we've done, except we got coconut oil instead of sugar, and also coconut oil instead of butter, and additional maple syrup for more sweetness. Now we're going to add in our dry ingredients. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1, 2, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a cup of our matcha powder. So generally, while I was researching to put together this recipe, I learned that you can generally substitute matcha powder for cocoa powder, except for the fact that it's a little bit stronger, so just use a tad less. So for example, this recipe, the original version was for chocolate donuts, and it called for 2/3 of a cup of cocoa powder. Matcha's pretty strong, so I reduced it down to half a cup. And this is very experimental, so we're all going to find out together how this works out. I can smell it though, it is very strong and very green. In addition to that, we're gonna do 1 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of flour. So 1 cup, and then 3/4. If I can get to my 1/4 cup, come on. 1, 2, 3/4, and then another 2 tablespoons. It's kind of a weird amount of flour, but we're gonna go with it. And then we'll just whisk everything together. It looks like seaweed. It's a fun color. So I had on my Patreon a poll between whether I should do regular donuts with matcha glaze or matcha donuts with a regular glaze. Now, no one's on my Patreon, so I just sort of made the decision for myself. But if you want to see things like that, you can join my Patreon. The last thing we're going to do is add the aquafaba. Now mine didn't get super fluffy, but that's okay. What you want to do is fold it in. It's just going to add a little bit of air, a little bit of fluffiness to our donut batter or dough, or I don't know which one is really correct for donuts. We're 3/4 of the way full. You want to fill the donut pan all the way, because as you can see, this is only half a donut, so when they rise, you'll get the whole thing. Now, you should be able to make 11 or 12 donuts with this. So ideally, like I said, ideally I would have 2 pans, but I don't, so we're just gonna bake it in 2 batches. There is batch number 1, and we're gonna put it in the oven for 18 to 20 minutes. Now, while there's a baking, what's a donut without a glaze? But it's super easy. We've got 3 ingredients: powdered sugar, milk, and vanilla. So we're gonna do 2 cups of powdered sugar. It's not quite 2 cups. A 1/4 cup non-dairy milk. Of course, I just put everything in the sink. Half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Play a game with not measuring right now. Now the beautiful thing about this, because I didn't really measure because I just put all my dishes in the sink, is that if it's too runny, you can just add more powdered sugar, and if it's too thick, you can just add more milk. Super duper easy. And when your donuts come out of the oven, give them a little time to cool down before you dunk them in here. But that's it. That's a donut glaze. Okay, so we will check back when that batch comes out of the oven. So we just got our first batch out of the oven. I think they look pretty good. Very green. We're gonna let them cool for just a couple minutes before even demolding them. So we'll wait like 2 minutes and then take them out of the mold and then wait another 5 minutes, put them on the cooling rack, and then we'll do the glaze. Ooh. All right, so I went ahead and baked the second batch already while we were waiting. So we ended up with exactly 10 donuts. They look pretty nice. The second batch came out nicer, so I would suggest just kind of smoothing it out when you're filling the pan. Just look at the difference between, that's the one, look at the difference between the two, right? But, you know, whatever. It is what it is. So all we have to do now is just dip these in the glaze. All right, and there you have it. Shang Chi's 10-ring matcha donuts. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of the MCU Bake-a-thon and other vegan recipes. Leave any recipes you want me to try in the comments down below. You can also please leave some suggestions for what I should bake for the Eternals. Like the video if you're into that sort of thing. I also do have a Patreon, so any money from Patreon will go towards ingredients and any kitchenware to help improve the show, things like that. You can get behind the scenes, early access, all sorts of stuff. So you can check out my Patreon, and I will see you in the next one.